Hi, this is Jack Daulton,
And Roz Ho.
and we're still traveling together exploring the country of Laos in Southeast Asia. We're presently in Shengquang province, near the town of Phonsavan, which is how many kilometers from Luang Prabang?
270 kilometers from Luang Prabang. It took us about 6-7 hours to drive here yesterday.
We have to talk a little bit louder, Roz.
Okay?
It was a long, interesting drive from relative lowland to relative highland. The plain of Jars, which is the site we've come to visit and where we are right now, sits on a plateau that is about 600 meters above sea level. The surrounding mountains rise to about 2,600 meters above sea level. The Jars themselves on this fabled or mysterious plain of Jars are located on the periphery of this plateau, actually, aren't they?
Yes, there's about 2,000 to 2,500 of them scattered throughout these about 60 sites throughout this area.
And we're at what's called site number 1, which has 334 of these large stone jars. A bit more about the jars themselves. They're made out of different materials, but 80% of them are made out of sandstone, like this example here, that was quarried locally. They date, did you say, from about 500 BC to 500 AD, it is believed.
Yeah, it is believed that we don't actually know much of anything about the civilization that produced these jars. There hasn't been a lot of archaeological excavations in this area, but I'm sure there will be, and we'll find out more about that civilization.
Yeah, Roz, as you probably know, the people that live in this part of Laos now have only been here for about 1,000 years, and these jars are roughly...
They predate that.
Yeah, they're roughly 2,000 years old, so the people that are here now did not make these jars. It was a different culture or civilization. As you mentioned, there's been a little bit of archaeological work done here. In the 1930s, Madeleine Coulani, the French archaeologist, did the first excavations here, and she determined for the first time, or proposed for the first time, the theory that these jars, these stone jars, served a funerary function, that they are cremation urns or burial urns to hold the cremation remains of people who lived here 2,000 or so years ago.
And there are actually secondary burials that they found on the grounds as well, of actually uncremated burial.
Yeah, so this apparently was a large cemetery, and perhaps people of high social status had their cremation remains placed in these urns, and people of lower status, sometimes uncremated, were buried outside of the urns.
Yeah, there are actually conflicting or different theories about how they used the jars and how the burials were done. So, I'm sure we'll find out more.
Well, UNESCO has been exploring this site or documenting it for the last 10 years or so. And you have to come a little closer to us.
Or we won't be able to hear.
Or we can't hear you. You can't hear us. Julie Vandenberg, an archaeologist with UNESCO, has been studying this site since the early 2000s, and they've determined that the largest of these urns are about 3 meters high, and they're about 2.5 meters wide. So these are large stone urns. It's amazing that people 2,000 years ago could have carved such things.
Yeah, and actually, just to add, there are different styles of jars, so we don't know why that is either.
The example we're standing next to, though, is the classic example. It's sort of a oval, almost ovoid jar with a lip on it. It's believed that there was a covering on the jar originally, and I think they found some of the disc-like stone covers around the site, haven't they, Roz?
Yes, although some of them were probably markers and some of them were lids, and again, we'll still trying to find out what they really were. And of course, just to mention that the excavations were interrupted during the war.
The Vietnam War, 1964 to 1973.
Yeah, and this area was heavily bombed, and in fact, you could see bomb craters all over the site here.
Yeah, we have to be very cautious not to wander off into the surrounding grass because it hasn't been completely cleared of unexploded ordnance.
Yeah, and that today is still hampering the archaeological efforts around here.
Yeah, more ordnance was dropped in Laos than anywhere else in the world. It's a tragic history to this site, which is complicating the archaeology, and it's complicating the
lives of the people.
Yes. In any case, much more archaeology needs to be done here to try to solve the riddle of the megalithic stone jars of the Plain of Jars. Well, we're moving on now to other sites, leaving site number 1, perhaps going to site number 2 and 3. And we may do another video there. Thank you very much.